I'm Florence Dowrick, a MajorTim.space honorary young ambassador. And this is Ellie Taylor-Brewin, a MajorTim.space young ambassador. Today we are going to be interviewing Ruth Amos. Ruth, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Ruth and I am an inventor and engineer, and I am one half of the YouTube channel Kids Invent Stuff, where we bring to life kids' invention ideas.
I've read that since you were about age 12, you had your hopes set on a career path to become a barista. However, during your time at a technical college, your teacher set a challenge for you which changed the course of your future, and the Stir Steady invention was born, all from the idea presented by a simple desk toy. Could you tell us about the inspiration behind the product, its uses, how the company was developed, and your experience in becoming the Young Engineer of the Year in 2006?
Yeah, so when I was at secondary school, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to study law and to be a barrister. And that kind of obviously didn't ever happen. And that was because I went to a school and we had to take some sort of engineering GCSE. So I could choose textiles or cooking or electronics. And I chose resistant materials. And my teacher set me the challenge to design something to help his dad go up and down his stairs. And yeah, that whole challenge kind of set me off on this journey. If I'm honest, at the time that I was set the challenge, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to design something. He kind of set me this challenge. His dad wasn't very well. He needed something to help him walk up and down the stairs. And I knew nothing about stairs. I knew nothing about mobility. And so it felt like a big jump to be like, ooh, design something. But yeah, it kind of threw me into this whole world. I ended up creating the Stair Steady. I was really lucky with the support that I got around me, and ended up going to London to Young Engineer for Britain, and ended up being Young Engineer for Britain, which felt really surreal at the time because there were lots of other people in the competition who I felt were like more of an engineer than me. And then I soon started to realize, go on, Florence.
It's just like a little bit of imposter syndrome.
A lot of imposter syndrome. Yeah, a lot of imposter syndrome. And so, yeah, it took me a while to be like, oh, also, up to that point, I don't think I'd ever met a female engineer. And so I didn't realize that people like me could be engineers. So as part of that competition, I met a few women in STEM and engineers, and I was like, wow, like these people are amazing. Like I would love to do that job.
Along with your friend and fellow engineer Sean Brown, you co-founded the Kids Invent Stuff YouTube channel, where 4 to 11-year-olds have the chance to get their invention ideas built by yourself and Sean. What's the most memorable invention that you have brought to life so far?
Oh, we've brought to life over 100 kids' invention ideas. So, most memorable. Lots of them are very messy. I think one that was particularly memorable. So we wanted to do something extra special for our 100th invention. And we realized that we tested 99 inventions here on Earth. And so we wanted to send something to space. So it feels rather fitting with the MajorTim.space Young Ambassador program to talk about our robot chicken that we sent to space. So Aria had this idea for a robot chicken that danced and pooped confetti. And we thought that pooping confetti would be the perfect thing for our 100th invention idea. So yeah, so that was kind of the big thing that was kind of quite memorable, is we'd never sent something to space before. And we had to set off really early, and yeah, we saw it go off and we thought we might never see it again. So that whole journey, it was really memorable. It was probably only a couple of hours, but we had a big weather balloon and we set it off and we saw it kind of going, and then we had to chase it, and we weren't sure if we'd ever see it again, if the footage would record, if it was work. There were so many things that could have gone wrong. And so that day was really memorable because as each of those things, we managed to find the chicken, we managed to retrieve the camera, we realized it had filmed, all those things, we realized it had worked. Yeah, it was a really special day. And Aria and her sister and her parents came along on that journey with us as well, which is really nice because depending what we're doing, the inventor can't always be with us when we're testing. So it was just so lovely to have like her and her family there on that journey as well.
As a teenager, you found the field of engineering was male-dominated, and you were in fact one of the only 2 girls in your class. Has the number of girls pursuing an engineering career increased? And if so, why do you think this is?
So research shows that yes, since that back in 2008, that number has gone up. It has also gone down in that time. And one of the things that we really struggle with in the field is keeping women in the field. So often if they have a career break or they have children, they don't always return back to engineering. So we still have kind of 2 issues. We have a little bit of a kind of PR understanding, getting enough women in there in the first place. And then we also have a bit of a retention issue as well. But I know that there are lots and lots of organizations who are obviously working to kind of change that. But I definitely think from the time that I was at school to now, there have been some really big changes, and there is definitely a difference. And particularly when I go into schools and I talk to young people, there is definitely a shift in how they see engineering, which is really exciting.
Ellie, would you like to ask the next question?
What do you think schools could do differently to make STEM more engaging for children and girls in particular?
Oh, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, I don't think there is one silver bullet, like one main thing. Obviously, we started Kids Invent Stuff because we thought that is something, and we know from kind of both anecdotal evidence and kind of evidence from parents and teachers that it does make a difference to how people view it. But I think it's kind of understanding. It's really tricky because when you're at school or you're in a classroom, you can't always then relate what you're doing to the outside world. And I think teachers sometimes, obviously, they might not have experience within that industry. And so it's really important that industry and other engineers and like kind of everything works together to really make a difference. And I think as well, wherever you are in education, whether you're in a school setting or a home setting, I think going out there and getting to meet people and ask questions is really important. And I know that lots of people in industry, they have days and events that young people can attend and they can see what it's like. And I think that's really important. But also just having those conversations in whatever environment you're learning.
As we discussed earlier in the interview, Kids Invent Stuff is aimed at children aged 4 to 11. Why did you choose this specific age range? And do you have any plans to extend the opportunities offered to older children and teenagers?
Great question. So 4 to 11-year-old was chosen because that's the age in the UK that children who go to school attend primary education. So key stage, early years, key stage 1, key stage 2. And it's also the age that young people, particularly girls, form their ideas around careers. It starts way earlier than people expect. So by the age of like 6 or 7, most young people, most girls have decided what they can't do as a career. And once that decision is in place, that's quite tricky to go back on. So if you have looked at an industry and you've been like, I can't do that, to then reverse that all through learning, all through your education, takes a lot more time and effort, if that makes sense. And a lot of projects that work with young people in science and technology and engineering and maths are aimed at older age groups. It's much easier, and there's much more stuff at GCSE, at A-level, and then at university. But primary age is such an important age. And so that's one of the reasons that we really wanted to focus on that age is, A, young people of that age have great creativity. And unfortunately, as we go through, particularly those in education, and if they have a lot of exams, it can kind of get a little bit stamped out of them. But at that age, there is very few limitations on the way that they think or they problem solve. And that means that they are the perfect engineers. And part of us would love for those young people to keep hold of that creativity and that ingenuity and all of that past that age, which is why we really want to celebrate it on the channel, to kind of show that actually that creative thinking and that problem solving is really important. Part of not doing slightly older children's inventions is because another part of what we do is we're showing making and building, and we want to encourage young people to build their own things. So there are, so many more accessible ways to make stuff than when I was your age. When, microbits, you've got bits of just even components and materials to make with are so much easier to get hold of. When I was your age, if someone had said, oh, you need to get hold of an electrical component, I genuinely wouldn't really have had a clue where to get it from. Whereas now you can go on the internet and you can see and get hold of so many different things that you can make things at home. And part of our thing is we would love to encourage young people to do that, if it's a cardboard prototype or if it's a working invention. And so, yeah, that's something we feel really passionate about. And it is something that we are looking at, how do we include that next stage in the work that we do. We're also aware that a lot of the stuff, the video content, for example, is family viewing. So lots of people will watch it not just on their own, they'll watch it with a family, they'll watch it in a classroom. And often you've got different ages of people watching that content as well. And so although a young person might not be able to submit an invention idea, we would hope that they would still be able to enjoy that content.
Do you find an equal number of girls and boys submitting inventions to Kids Invent Stuff?
Actually, we have slightly more girls than boys usually on average. I mean, we have a lot of invention ideas, thousands of thousands. We see 25,000 students face-to-face every year. That's a high number of young people. But usually on average, we have slightly more girls submitting than boys, which I find really exciting for an engineering program.
You are the author of The Inventor's Workshop. Could you describe the process of writing and publishing your book, detailing any challenges faced and whether you have any future works in progress?
Yeah, so I think there's a massive poster. I don't think you can really see that very well, but right at the back, I need to sort the lighting out in this room. But the Inventor's Workshop, that was a project that I never thought I would do. So I didn't realize this when I was at school, but it turns out I'm dyslexic. And so one of the things that I struggle with is spelling and writing. I think I've written something and I haven't written it right. And so Magic Cat, who published it, they approached me and they said, we would love you to write a book about inventions that change the world and the workshops that they might have happened in. We've got this incredible illustrator, and it'd be a really great way to show young people like how amazing the world is around them, and how that it's not just one inventor that creates something. It's, lots of inventors come together to create this thing that we all use every day. And I was like, amazing, but I'm going to need a good editor. And the team there were so great, and they were, it was, for me, it was really tricky trying to narrow it down. So the book covers 10 inventions, and obviously as part of the research, I looked at more of those. And I just was like, wow, how do I narrow this down to 10 when there's so many amazing stories and inventions? Once that was done, it was kind of delving into it. But it's a really interesting process, because I obviously wrote the words for it, and then Stacey illustrated it, and then they're all combined. And sometimes she'd ask for a picture of an invention so she could make sure she could illustrate it right or whatever. And I've had to read that book and check it so many times. But in her illustrations, whenever I look at it, I always see something new every single time, because there's so much detail in it. And so, I'm not only really proud of the book in the sense of writing it, but also just really proud because of like the great people that worked on it. So the publishers and the illustrators, and it's just beautiful.
What do you enjoy most about your career?
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you know what? I like the variety. I have always liked doing lots of different things, and that's what I get to do. So just this week, for example, I've had site visits for different projects. I've had meetings. I've got to travel up to go see factories for other projects. I've had days where we've been working on Kids Invent Stuff builds. This morning, I filmed a clip of me laid in bed with 2 Guinness World Records. It's just a really weird and wonderful job, and it's really creative. So what I really love about it is we have a really great team, and we come up with ideas, and yeah, it's just really, really nice to work with really good people, but also people who, get the, it can be a bit silly, and we can be really creative with it. And I love that. And as much as building something can have its ups and downs, there's always failure. We're dealing with a lot of failure in these things. The satisfaction at the end of a build is amazing. And particularly if you solve a problem, because we build lots of different things, sometimes it can go months in between me doing a different skill. So we can have a build that needs more welding or a build that needs more coding. And so sometimes I'll come back to that skill and I'll be like, wow, how do I remember to do that? Because I haven't done that in ages. Mm-hmm. And it's really nice just to be able to do lots of different things and pick up different skills, even when it's frustrating. Because we have recently done some coding for a project, and I'm like, I should remember more of this. And then it takes a bit of time to get back into it.
Outside of engineering, do you have any other subjects or hobbies which you enjoy and feel passionate about?
Ooh, yeah. So when I was younger, I used to swim competitively. So I really enjoy swimming. When I was older, I got into kind of running. So I like kind of exercising, anything to kind of, I think I'm really lucky because a lot of the things I love doing are part of my job. And so a lot of the time it doesn't always, although I'm not always good at switching off, and I work from home and it's quite easy in the evenings and weekends to carry on working, but I do really love it as well. So I do try and do things that are out of the house and away from the workshop or here to kind of switch off. But usually there's I do like going for a swim or a run or going out on the bike or something physical.
Yeah. What advice would you give to young people looking for a future in engineering?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would get them to think about what skills they have and where they want to be within that. I think sometimes people know exactly what part of engineering they want to be in. But I think what's really exciting about engineering is it is constantly, there's new technologies, there's new projects, and I think it's going out there and understanding what's going on and finding that place where you really love it. And I think there are so many different types of options that use so many different types of skills. And I think it's really important that you find the thing that you really enjoy and love.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. It was really, really lovely to interview you.
Thank you so much for having me. And you are great interviewers, both of you. You'll be taking my job.
Thank you.